When members of Police Scotland arrived at Beechwood Drive in the North Lanarkshire town amid reports of a disturbance at 2:30 a.m. on May 17, 2023, they were met with a shocking sight. Three men, led by enforcer Ross Al-Gailani, had inflicted horrific violence upon a former organised crime gang member who was hacked at so savagely that he ended up having his leg amputated. The target was a man named James Sheridan, once a member of an organised crime gang who was jailed after being caught with cannabis and £104,000. While in prison for that offence, Sheridan made it clear he wanted out of the mob. However, the gang boss blamed him for the drugs and cash being lost. An instruction was issued by the OCG that he should be assaulted. That's where 36-year-old Ross Al-Gailani came in. He was a trained mechanic with a limited criminal record, but had seemingly become an enforcer for a major organised crime group. Al-Gailani then went on a 7-week rampage, dishing out some of the most extreme violence that the Scottish underworld has seen in recent times. When James Sheridan was released early from his jail term at HMP Low Moss, located on the outskirts of Bishopbriggs, East Dunbartonshire near Glasgow, Scotland, on May 16th, he was followed to a property in Coatbridge, Lanarkshire. Later that day, Al-Gailani and others kicked down the front door and found Sheridan in a bedroom with girlfriend Samantha Cook. The gang members then proceeded to assault both of them using machetes and swords. The gang fled the bloodbath as Cook managed to dial 999. Sheridan suffered horrific injuries to his head, arms and legs. Medics initially feared he would not survive, and the wounds were so severe it was decided to amputate his right leg from above the knee. He also lost 2 fingers in the attack. His girlfriend also required extensive surgery after 2 fingers were severed from her right hand. Attempts were made to reattach them, but eventually she had to have them amputated. James Sheridan did not seem too perturbed by the incident, illustrated by the video that went semi-viral around Scotland after the attack, where he seemed to make light of the fact that he had been so badly injured that he lost a leg. Sheridan's partner later told the media that the couple were no longer together. Al-Gailani's next target, meantime, was Scott McCrann, who owed the crime mob £19,000. His ordeal began on June 14th after Al-Gailani picked him up and drove him to a house in Wishaw, Lanarkshire. On arrival, McCrann was instructed to strip to only his boxer shorts. His hands and legs were tied together. Al-Gailani then repeatedly hit McCrann with a baseball bat. While he was being held captive over the next 2 days, McCrann estimated he was hit with the weapon over 100 times. He was also forced to place his hand on a cooker, and Al-Gailani proceeded to strike his left hand on 3 or 4 occasions with a machete. Al-Gailani called relatives of McCrann to pay the debt before he was allowed to finally leave. However, about a week later, Al-Gailani ordered McCrann to meet him and he was again driven to Wishaw. He was told to once more remove his clothes before being shot around 20 times with an air rifle and battered with a bat. In a sadistic act, he even got a toddler who was in the house to take a hold of the air pistol and ask McCrann to put his hands in the air before shooting him twice. McCrann escaped this time after agreeing to deliver a plan to make the mob money. The court heard he needed surgery following both attacks, including for damage to his hand and having pellets removed from his body after having been shot with the air rifle. Interestingly, McCrann was one of 2 men originally arrested in connection with the original attack on James Sheridan alongside Al-Gailani. He was arrested alongside Tony Redpath on 7th of July and was facing charges of attempted murder. However, it seems those charges have since been dropped. The reasons for this, or the status of their case, is unknown. In his final act as an enforcer, Al-Gailani turned up at a house a couple were living at in Helensburgh, Argyll and Bute on July 4th. Police Scotland said a man entered the property in Helensburgh's Hood Court via an unlocked door and assaulted the 19-year-old woman at around 1 a.m. The woman, whom it is believed Al-Gailani did not know, found him in the kitchen clutching what appeared to be a police baton while wearing an orange high-vis type jacket with a reflective line worn with the hood up. He went on to strike her twice with the weapon as she tried to defend herself. The woman believes he left only after her dog began attacking his leg. The woman suffered significant tendon damage to her left hand, which she continues to struggle with. It is not known what the reason was for the third attack in Helensburgh. The court heard how Al-Gailani was a trained mechanic with a limited criminal record, making it stranger to understand how he was involved in such serious violence. His lawyer, Brian McConaughey KC, said it was clear during this time that Al-Gailani was embroiled with an organised crime group. In mitigation in court, he explained this appears to have been a period of 7 weeks which can be described as mayhem in relation to the offences. Al-Gailani described watching footage of the attacks, which was shown in court, as like watching a horror film and that the audio made him feel sick. Al-Gailani's lawyer said his client found it difficult to come to terms that he was responsible for his actions. Al-Gailani has a family, including children, and the burden of knowing that he will miss out on their upbringing must be extremely difficult to take. It is unknown what the circumstances were for an otherwise unremarkable family man to turn to such extreme actions. The judge, Lady Stacey, said the jail term for Al-Gailani would have been 18 years had it not been for his guilty pleas. "You acted in a despicable manner. Your actions were cruel, cowardly and sadistic," she said. Al-Gailani will be supervised for a further 3 years on his release. Thanks for watching another episode on OCG TV. This is one of a series of videos that we will be producing where the duration is slightly shorter than average. This allows us to cover more cases that our audience wants to see, but there isn't a huge amount of information in the public domain.